My roommate asked, "Can you refuse me tonight?" Then she told me the truth. The knock on my bedroom door came just after 11 on a cold autumn night in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't loud or desperate, but there was something about it that made my heart race. When I opened the door, my roommate Abigail stood there with trembling hands and eyes filled with tears. She had clearly been fighting all evening. Before I could ask what had happened, she looked at me with a fragile smile and quietly asked, "Can you refuse me tonight?" In that single moment, I realized this wasn't a question about comfort, convenience, or friendship. It was a plea that carried the weight of years of silent pain. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and the power of second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps more inspiring stories reach people who may need them the most. My name is Caleb, and I had lived with Abigail for almost a year. We were simply roommates who shared rent after answering the same online housing advertisement. She worked as a pediatric nurse while I repaired antique furniture in a local workshop. We respected each other's space, exchanged friendly conversations over breakfast, and occasionally watched old movies on rainy weekends. She always smiled at everyone, yet I noticed that every Sunday evening she disappeared into her room and never came out until Monday morning. I assumed she was tired from work, never imagining that those evenings were the hardest hours of her life. That night she finally told me the truth. She explained that the next morning marked the 5th anniversary of losing her younger brother Nathan to a sudden illness. Every year she spent the night alone, overwhelmed by grief, guilt, and memories she could never escape. Their parents had passed away years earlier, leaving the two siblings to depend on each other. Nathan had always insisted that she never face life's storms alone. Yet after his passing, she had slowly isolated herself from everyone. She admitted that loneliness had become so familiar that asking for company felt almost impossible.
Then she quietly confessed that all she wanted was for someone to stay awake with her until sunrise, because every year she feared facing that night by herself. I didn't answer immediately because I realized how much courage it had taken for her to knock on my door.
Instead of offering clever words, I made coffee, found an old blanket, and suggested we sit on the front porch where the neighborhood lights shimmered beneath the clear American sky. For hours we simply talked. She shared childhood memories of camping trips, birthday cakes baked from scratch, and the silly songs Nathan used to invent during long car rides. Sometimes she laughed until tears appeared. Other times she cried without saying anything at all. I discovered that grief was not something to solve. It was something to carry together. As the night stretched on, Abigail admitted something else that surprised me even more. She had been planning to move out because she believed her sadness made her a burden. She thought people eventually grew tired of carrying someone else's broken heart. Hearing those words hurt more than I expected. I told her that everyone carries invisible battles, and true friendship isn't measured by easy days but by who stays when life becomes difficult. For the first time since I'd known her, she smiled without forcing it. The following morning, instead of hiding indoors, we drove to a community park where Nathan had loved feeding ducks as a child. Abigail brought a small notebook filled with letters she had written to him over the years but had never shown anyone. She read a few pages aloud, thanking him for the courage he had unknowingly given her. As the morning sun warmed the quiet lake, it felt as though she had finally allowed herself to breathe again. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. Healing rarely works that way. There were still difficult anniversaries, stressful workdays, and moments when sadness returned unexpectedly. But something had changed. Abigail started volunteering at a children's reading program every Saturday. I noticed laughter returning to the apartment, fresh flowers appearing on the kitchen table, and music playing while she cooked dinner. Her grief hadn't disappeared, but hope had found enough room to live beside it. Months later, just before renewing our lease, she handed me a handwritten note. Inside, she thanked me for refusing to let her face the darkest night of her life alone. She wrote that people often believe miracles arrive with dramatic signs, but sometimes a miracle is simply someone who stays when everyone else leaves. Before this story comes to an end, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about someone whose kindness changed your life or someone you hope to thank one day. Your story might encourage another viewer who feels alone today. As we packed away the old lease papers and prepared for another year under the same roof, I realized that home isn't always the place where you were born. Sometimes it's the place where someone quietly chooses to remain beside you when your heart is carrying more than words can express. If this story touched your heart, please support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with family and friends, subscribing for more uplifting stories, and letting us know how it made you feel. Because sometimes the greatest act of love isn't finding the perfect words, it's simply refusing to let someone face their hardest night alone.